All right, everybody, brand new Cabral Concept here today. Love being able to bring you some of the best of the old world naturopathy. I'll talk about that in just 1 second. What the traditional naturopaths, or natural hygienists as they were called, used to do with their original patients and clients, and how we are bringing that to modern day science as well. So one of the things that I was fortunate enough to be able to study now about 15 to 20 years ago that my mentor introduced to me to is traditional naturopathy. So traditional naturopathy comes from Western Europe as well. I mean, really all over the world, but Western Europe specifically. And then also the natural hygienists in the 1800s and early 1900s in the United States. And what they used to do was to take people out of the back then, whatever you wanted to call a city or a town, and they would bring them to fresh and natural-based springs in nature, and they would do things such as sun exposure. They would do things such as sweat or sweat-based lodges, or even holes in the ground with animal hides covering the top and sweating inside of those pits, essentially to create a detoxification-based process. I talked about that way back in the day in the rain barrel effect, but they also used to take people, besides the great diets, take people to these natural springs. And people have been searching for these springs all over the world, kind of like the fountain of youth. But truthfully, you know, I've actually been to where Ponce de Leon was in, I believe it's, where is it? St. Augustine, Florida. And it was fun. You know, it was a fun little trip that I got to. I was in St. Augustine, and it's a beautiful area. I got to go to that specific area. But people have been, like, natural hygienists or the traditional naturopaths were always using natural springs all around the world. Some of them were in Iceland, many of them all over Europe. So I've been to some in Germany. I'm going to actually talk about those here today. And traditionally, a few around the United States as well. But what they've always been said is that there's these miracle cures in these springs. Now, did everyone get them? No, not everybody. And the study that I want to share with you here today actually showed that, believe it or not, 50%, they're called responders, got amazing results from these natural springs. Now, they didn't just sit in the spring, which they used to do before, but they actually drank from it as well. And what did they receive? Well, they received a massive reduction in what is called oxidative stress. So basically, when you hear about free radicals in your body, so free radicals begin to develop to a greater degree the more stress we place on it. So alcohol, fried food, smoking, too much sun exposure, too long of fasting, too hard a workout, anything that's too much of the body creates free radicals, creates oxidative stress. And the body then needs to use its own antioxidants inside as well as externally, so they call it exogenous and endogenous, in order to squelch that. Well, as we get older, it's harder to do. And so what they did was they actually studied these springs, which have been renowned for 100 plus years in Germany. Now, I didn't go to this specific one. This is called the Nordenau Springs. And I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, but I'm going to link up the actual academic research to this. So the research that's been out for quite some time. I stumbled upon this research. This is not well-known research because I was searching for just great science on hydrogen-based, high hydrogen-based water. And I've always said before, if you can find these natural springs, this is what nature gave us. Nature gave us a slightly alkaline, high hydrogen water, mineral-based spring water in order to be able to drink from. So I want to share now with you the science. So this is direct from the spring. 411 diabetes patients. Average age was 71.5 with type 2 diabetes. So keep in mind, this is an oxidative stress induced disease as well. Now you could say, oh, it has to do with high blood sugar. Yes, part of high blood sugar is oxidative stress, right? A lot of inflammation with this particular chronic disease. So here's all the patients were given. This is it. Literally, this is all they were given. 2 liters daily of natural reduced water, which I'll talk about with natural reduced water from the Nordenau Spring over 6 days. So this worked extremely fast. Now, of course, they had a control group, and they had the patients that got the 2 liters a day. So 2 liters a day in US-based terms would be about 2 water bottles. What's another way to think about it? 4 8-ounce glasses of water. That's about it. So they drank 8 glasses of 8 ounces a day. Is that correct? 8 times 8, 64. Yeah, that's about right. So right around there, just a little bit more water than they drank. Now, it wasn't the only thing they drank. They went about their average day, right? So they went about their typical day of eating, and they also added this 2 liters of water per day. Now you might say, well, they just got better because of the water, just drinking more water. It's actually not the case. So they included that because they have their control group. So here's what they found though. They tested hemoglobin A1C, right? So hemoglobin A1C, not going to move a ton in a week. So I don't want to look at that, but that's about a 90-day average of your blood sugar. They looked at total cholesterol, LDL, and HDL cholesterol. They looked at serum creatinine as a form of kidney-based function, which is really important for diabetics, important for anybody over the age of 70 for sure. And they also looked at reactive oxygen species, right? So oxidative stress. And let's see, all of those were tested 136 patients, 411 total, and the patients were divided into responders and those that were non-responders. So hemoglobin, A1C, and blood sugar were what they were looking for in terms of responders for the water. I'll get to the reactive oxygen species in just a moment. Now, to me, a little unfair that the study was 6 days long. They literally tested their blood on day 1, and then after 6 days, they tested it again. But anyway, even in those 6 days, 45%, 186 people, basically almost half of the people responded immediately to the Nordenau water, which is the reduced water. I'll talk about what reduced water means towards the end. Okay. And then there were, of course, the non-responders. Now, in the responder group, they also saw improvements in cholesterol, LDL, HDL, total, creatinine, and potentially overall, they induced or deduced from it beneficial improvements in heart and kidney organ-based function. Now, they looked at another group of people on top of just blood sugar alone, and they found that about 70.6 of those individuals, so more than 2/3, showed a significant reduction in oxidative stress, reactive oxygen species, which has been linked to diabetes as well. Now, here's what's really impressive. It was only 6 days. Some people need more than a week, in order to get better with their blood sugar levels. So wouldn't this be an amazing study to look at if it was 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, or maybe even 6 months? And the answer is, I think we would see even better results. And that is because 70% of people, 70.6 technically, saw a reduction in free radical damage. That means everything is going to improve. Brain function, heart, organs, blood sugar, but we have to give it enough time. 6 days is not enough. So I found this really impressive because the natural hygienists, the traditional naturopaths, they knew what they were doing. Now, should we just say, well, we only need sun, sweat, fasting, all the things that they used to do, the natural springs, fresh water? No, it's not the only thing, but like Herbert Shelton fasted 36,000 people, got tremendous results, right? But he took them into nature. It wasn't the only thing. He didn't just fast them in their home, he took them out into nature. The forest bathing, the negative ions, the breathing, the breath work, the springs, the sweat, all of that matters. That's what we talk about in the rain barrel effect. But there's nothing wrong with taking this up to modern day as well. And so not everyone has access to the Nordenau Springs. But what do the Nordenau Springs actually provide? Well, they examine the water. And the water is a high hydrogen mineral water. So whenever you hear reduced water, they refer to it as hydrogen ionized water. And this is something that I've been talking about over the past few months because although this study is small, well, it's not bad. It's 411 people, all with type 2 diabetes that showed immediate results in 6 days for 50% of the responders, 45% technically, and then 70% in reactive oxygen species. We used to have many more follow-up studies that show the benefits for brain cognition, energy, mood, mitochondrial health, and so much more. So what I say is, again, yes, amazing if you can get water from Nordenau in Germany. Like, no doubt about it, you should do that for sure. Like, I would love that as well. But for everyone else, using a hydrogen-based water for a couple liters a day may also be a great thing. So I wrote up a whole page of research on this. I literally did a deep dive. I shared all of my personal research at home. I bought an ORP meter, to measure the antioxidant potential of all different types of water that I use in my house. I talk about reverse osmosis filters. I go through all of that, and that is all free information. And I also quote 30 scientific studies backing up the benefits of hydrogen-based water. And there's all sorts of different ways to get it. So what I want to do today is link up a bunch of free podcasts on hydrogen water at stevencabral.com/3212. So stevencabral.com/3212. On that page, I also want to link up my research articles and videos on my personal testing, where I look at hydrogen, ORP, and much more for the very best water that I use. I use in my practice with my personal wellness clients, and I also use with my family as well. My 2 daughters, my wife, my dog. So you can find all that at stevencabral.com/hydrogen-water. That'll take you over. It'll give you all the information that you need, and I would absolutely look into it. Maybe the first thing that you do, but once you've started to do a lot of the basics, cleaning your food, meaning like clean food, no pesticide food, clean air, right? You got a good air filter, maybe you have a good shower filter, starting to look into the very best forms of water. And the reason is very simple. Most of us need about 10 glasses or so of water per day. Now, some of it counts as teas and different things like that. But when you're consuming that much of one thing, it makes sense to me to get the best of what that one thing is. And that is absolutely a filtered water. So we use reverse osmosis, and then we add the minerals back automatically with the filter that we use. And again, that's at stevencabral.com/hydrogen-filter, not our company. And then we run it through what's called a hydrogen ionizer. And that now gives us clean water that is now with minerals and high hydrogen based. So pretty impressive stuff. I love being able to take the best of the old, combine it with state-of-the-art science, prove it, meaning with double-blind and clinical-based studies, and then share that information with you. So head on over to stevencabral.com/3212 for additional podcasts and the /hydrogen-water page for exactly what we use in our practice and in our home as well. Take care, everybody. Hope this was helpful. Do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.